Hello, everybody! Welcome back to Dungeons & Mad Mage. We are back from break, and we have just left off as Ezrah, Legion Commander, has walked over to his kind of like war table. The war leaders are in and gathering around, right? Lurkana is there, and as this happens, right, Ezrah kind of like walks over, and then there's this kind of like pause, right? There's this moment, right? And then there's what?
Oh god. So loud.
Right?
Stun the child.
You stun the child. Goblin child added to the list.
No, just put baby.
There are looks. There's a range of looks that you get from the war leaders and Lurkana. Lurkana has the just the how dare you look, right? She's the kind of high tension, right? The other war leaders seem either mildly irritated or nonchalant, right? Ezrah actually starts, like he actually jumps for a second, and he turns his head suddenly towards Matashtai.
Anything?
And as soon as that happens, right, all three of the war leaders look at Ezrah, and then they dart glances at each other. And then they all kind of dart glances at Lurkana, who you can now see is stone-faced, right? And staring at the three of them. And then they all kind of just look down at the war table. Like, not looking around, not making eye contact with anyone, right? And Ezrah just kind of stands there startled for a second, right? And then seems to kind of like collect himself and shuffle over to the side. And places his hands on the war table. Matashtai, what do you do about the screaming kid?
Throw
him to the wolves.
Go to sleep.
Let me see if I have any sweet monk techniques that could help with this.
Sweet monk
Dumb
technique.
child.
How much HP does a baby have? Just cast sleep.
Lurkana will look at you and she will say, "Need to summon someone to take the thing and give it over to the
other thing."
If you've got someone to take care of it, yeah, I welcome that. I ain't gonna take this baby around the dungeon.
It's yours.
One of the war leaders slams a fist on the door, right? The door opens. A hobgoblin comes in. There's a short conversation. The hobgoblin rushes off. A few minutes pass before a kind of like wild-haired goblin shows up and goes to take the child, right? And they're like, there's nothing ominous. There's a place where the goblin children are reared here, and that is where the goblin is being. Goblin children are, at least here, they are taken care of communally. So it's just, they take the child from you, take it to the spawning pool, basically, and toss it in. Food for the fishes.
Alright.
Yeah, whatever. Fair enough.
That's their culture.
Okay.
No.
Gotcha. Alright. And then, right after the few minutes pass, everything can kind of like get back on track. And Ezrah calls you kind of all over to the war table, where he will point out the map. And he will begin to kind of discuss. He starts out by saying, "Months before, and for years before that, we controlled both the western and eastern portions of Stromcold. When the drow arrived, they did so en masse, and their assault was swift, well coordinated. They drove us from the halls of the dwarves and from the eastern ruin. But we were able to establish defensive perimeters, hold them from. We would assault them, take the fight to them, drive them out of the ruins, as some on the War Council would choose. But with the many threats that we have faced, Kinrob, the Xanathar, and with the assets that the Drow have brought with them, doing so, making a frontal assault, would expose us, would endanger the Legion. So, we have bided our time, built up our forces, sought ally. You propose this alliance. What know you of war?
I know not much of war, but I know about working together. I grew up in an order where we worked together to take down either one massive foe or many at one time.
Sounds like war.
Do you? By
Just
the
gonna
way,
say it.
I'll step up to the table and I'll point out where we met Teresa, and I will detail out where, like, specifically where people were standing. I'll be like, Teresa herself sat here. Her guards were here. Outside the room, there were these drow, these bugbear, and they seem to have pretty much all of this corner occupied. If we attack, we could go full frontal. It's funneled. But
Yeah,
I
you could.
do not know where else the drow inhabit in the northern or northeastern section of the floor.
They are one of the war leaders speaks up, and he says they are lax. And another at the same time, Rolvuk actually says they are wily. You think them lax because they do not stand in one place, display arms. Instead, they move. They keep us guessing. They make it impossible to know where they might be, where they might strike from. You are simple, Ognok.
Damn,
Fucking hog.
roasted.
I must inquire. I do not find myself an expert in drill culture, but if you cut the head off of the snake, does that cause disarray? If we were able to dispose of their female leader, would that sway the tide?
There's a general grunt, right? There's kind of like a murmur of agreement, right? And then Lorcana speaks and she says, "Yes, the priestess. She is."
Cool.
Huh?
I a priestess. That's a cool name. I just.
The priestess is but
It's a good
one
save.
head. But you are correct. If we did take them, remove the heads, then the drow are likely to retreat back down to whence they have come. There are...
We see more than one. We only saw the one when we were there. The one that was torturing that told us to come kill this dude. We didn't see any other priestesses.
We back home. My people have long fought a war that they've been outnumbered, fighting with less resources, less people, but knowing the land better than our opponents. Do you consider yourselves to know these tunnels, this dungeon, better than the Drow?
There's a little bit of discussion, but generally the answer is that the war leaders will give you is they'll say, yes, our troops know the ins and outs of this area. But the Drow have been here for some time. They are no strangers anymore. That advantage might still be possible. There's a
Speaking of-
flank on the eastern side of the ruins, a back tunnel that leads into the halls of the dwarves. It's possible that it is less guarded than the eastern ruins themselves. Perhaps we could send a party that way.
You mentioned that there were several heads, these priestesses.
So Lurkana will speak up, right? And she'll say, we know of only one priestess, but there are other leaders amongst the Drow that I think in killing just the one might not do the trick. But killing the priestess, her mage, and the captain of her guard would throw them into disarray, undoubtedly.
Speaking of advantages,
The middle war leader, right? He hasn't spoken a whole lot. He kind of like pipes up and he says, "There's the matter of dragon."
What?
I pipe up.
Oh, that's
They-
funny. I thought for a second
They
you
got a
said
dragon?
And Rolvuk says,
I'm very interested in this dragon.
"It
Where
is
the
not a
dragon?
dragon, but
Oh,
it is a fearsome creature."
But please tell us more. That
what is it though?
And he
How
says,
full of bones is it?
Ozoner
Drake
should
is
not
a worm.
listen to the tales from the more discerning.
Was that the creature we heard munching when we walked by?
Yeah, they did have a big thing.
The
Guys,
priestess,
let them talk.
the priestess keeps a pet,
Sorry.
a monstrous creature that breathes flame. Hold that thought.
So we're looking at like a young red.
And immediately Jeremy sees my brain going, "What the fuck is this? What the fuck is this? What the fuck is this?"
I have an idea of what it is, but I'm not sure because I don't think it's
I
gonna
have
be. I
No
think it's-
goddamn idea.
So he says, yeah, they
Like, so-
they have a monster that breathes flame, but
It's just one guy drinking fire-breathing potions.
yeah, it's just one guy in stilts.
he's just in there, just like. "Wah."
Hey, boo boo, how's it going? And so Rolvuk says, he says, we have no good accounts of the creature, just the hysteria of the men that have survived encounters with it. While I would not count it as one of the heads, it could be a rallying point for the other drow. Even if we kill the leaders, if one of them takes control of the beast and uses it, then that might be enough to embolden the rest.
How much intelligence do you guys have of the area? You have any maps?
I mean,
We
we're looking-
have so yeah, you're looking at a map right now. And they basically what you guys see on your map, right, is most of what they show you, except I'm not sure how to really to do this, But you see,
By
so
revealing it.
I can't reveal it. Really,
Oh,
like
okay then.
there's no like super simple way to do it. But basically, so like the eastern point on the river, just north of the NPC token where you guys left the ferryman, right? That point that you guys had talked about being maybe a route to go around behind, right?
Mm-hmm.
That leads up in a series of winding caves that basically connects to the southern point at the temple. So it's not a way around, it's a way to, like it's a back entry to the temple complex. So that's the only thing really on the map that is shown aside from what you guys can already kind of see with the Stromkolder ruins.
Can you point where this dragon is? Speaking.
They tell you, right, that occasionally, again, the drow move around, and they put out patrols. They try not to just hold one fortified position. So the creature has been encountered in multiple locations, but then Rolvuk will tell you they believe its lair is just north of the eastern,
Yeah.
which is...
So is where our
There's
green
more.
question
Which
mark
is where your green question mark is, absolutely.
Okay.
So,
100%.
you were speaking about a potential alternate route from the east that might be an advantageous place to attack from.
Mhm.
I was thinking the drow currently believe us to be on a job for them here. If we produced like a burlap sack with some bloody stump in there,
I pointed at the Oni head.
we could probably walk up right to Teresa's chambers before we engage.
Lorcana
do you have-
says, like, she kind of like crosses her arms and she says, "Why not a hobgoblin?" said.
I was just going to ask if there was a recent deceased we could just
Yeah, if you want to chop off a hobgoblin's head.
utilize. Well, they had that pit of bodies, so I figure maybe there's one that could be salvaged.
Ezrah,
Except there
do you
were
know? Do you
There
know
are.
if any of them have ever seen you?
Sorry.
Ezrah, do you know if any of these drow have seen you? Do they know what you look like?
He says, right, like he kind of contemplates and says, "I would not believe."
All right. Then this could work. If you've got a recently deceased that, kind of Matt feels terrible about what he's about to say. He kind of does like a, but we can use one of your recently deceased and honorable dead, take his head to them and say it's yours. Might get us in pretty quick. I also think it might not be a bad idea if some of your folks could pick a fight somewhere, start pulling some of their resources away from the temple.
If you're agitated, they might realize something has happened to their rank and could
Yeah,
be
maybe they're retaliating after we took your head.
It has merit. Yes. So, you would infiltrate. You would be the sword that cuts the primary head.
staff.
God.
Here.
Ognok like looks confused and he says, "How does a staff cut?"
With magic.
Slowly.
Yeah, swing pretty hard. I've been training Ezra.
There's a like there's consideration that goes between the war leaders and Azrock and Lurkana, right? And they talk with you about the plan, right? And basically, right, the impression that they will give you is that Azrock he seems hesitant to dedicate a large number of forces to leave Azrock's hold in a state that he would feel is not defensible, right?
Well,
So,
sorry,
but
I don't want to interrupt, but to that vein, I think Matt would kind of jump in and say, I don't think you need to take a large force and hit one tunnel.
so
I
that's
think
the
you had small bands hitting multiple tunnels that are associated with the drow.
so that's
You need to
absolutely
distract them.
right. Like the discussion that comes out is that Azrock is willing to commit basically like raiding parties to harry locations for the drow, while still retaining the bulk of the Legion's forces at the hold to protect and defend the area, while you all act as a stealthy. So if that's what you're because like basically like you're giving him an option where he gets to let you guys do the harder end of the job. So he's gonna, like, if that's what you're suggesting, he's absolutely, like, leaning towards that.
With that in mind, y'all got anything that could really piss off the drow? Bring him your way?
There's a slew of just, like, suggestions, coming from the war leaders, from Azrock, from Lurkana. A bunch of things get thrown out, right? A bunch of random ideas. Some of them sound potentially plausible, others sound completely nonsensical, right? There's some stuff about shriekers that's thrown out, but apparently they're too young, right? There's some stuff about the Creepa, right? Being
Creeper.
the Creepa, asking the Creepa for help, and that one's kind of entertained, right? Like it's left on the table. It's not just thrown aside, right? There's always the Legion's forces itself, right? And then there's a couple of other ideas that get thrown out, right? Lurkana kind of very begrudgingly begins a conversation about Ulquist and the Xanathar forces, and she mentions she begins to speak about a creature called Nerozar the Defeated, and not a great name, but
like title.
But she does like kind of, there's the chance that Ulquist could be convinced, right, for concessions to the Xanathar, and then Azunar says that they could always lead Gut Golem to the Eastern Ruins and unleash it there. That Gut Golem would probably do. So there's a bunch of like I said, there's a bunch of little ideas and thoughts and things that get thrown out, right? But the Legion, their war leaders, and because we were playing D&D, they're gonna kind of defer to these strange adventurers who are offering to kill their hated foe for them. They're kind of deferring to you guys on the what parts of the plan go up to the top and which ones get sifted down to the bottom. So, do you guys have any ideas, or did you have any questions about anything that I mentioned previously?
So I do like the idea of the infiltration. What I'm worried about is like if we do that, but the Legion is like out and about in that eastern hallway or down the halls and stuff like that. It's not going to be much different than if we would have just went in there swords, dick swinging, right? We're still going to be there alone until they can fight their way into the room with us.
But they're drawing.
I don't think the intention is for them to meet us there.
I think the concept is you guys fight the battle in the temple, but their distraction keeps reinforcements from going to the temple.
So 50 people are on the temple. They pull away 40. We have 10 to fight there now.
Yeah, but we still have the priestess and the elite warriors and the mage and those giant spiders.
Giant spiders on their shoulders.
So
until you get
right until they paralyze you.
Do the hobgoblins? Matt talking here. Do y'all know any sort of what resources brought the drow here? Why are they here? What do they want on this level?
Lurkana speaks, right? And she says, "We believe House Avrindar wishes to conquer the Stromkolder ruins as a forward base of operations to conquer Skullport, to take the Port of Shadows, and from there establish control of the upper floors of Undermountain, with the eventual goal to strike against the city of Waterdeep and conquer it for themselves."
Good luck with that.
Well, yeah, sure.
What if
It's a long-term goal, like long-term, fam. But
we led?
Skullport, that's short-term goal.
What if we devised a plan to pull some of their resources, some of their forces towards Skullport? What if we had some sort of some sort of plan that they could take Skullport? Maybe convince them to throw in 90% of their forces towards this gambit, only for it to be an ambush.
Azrak will say, that is an interesting idea, but I'm not sure what the gambit would be. Unfortunately, Skullport lies to the west of us. The drow are canny. All passages, save for the river itself, go through our territory. We've tried to bait them into unfavorable engagements in the past, and while we've had some minor success, their commanders seem wily enough to resist most urges. They seem accepting of the idea that they can bleed us out, kill us slowly.
They're more interested in a protracted engagement.
Indeed.
All right.
Attrition.
Okay.
As that is mentioned, right, there is some discussion amongst the war leaders that attrition is not a wholly unavailable option to the Legion. And the conversation that they have basically boils down to the concept of using a bunch of goblin and bugbear forces as cannon fodder, basically, to bleed out the forces of the drow.
Big oof.
But as you guys have been seeing little bits and pieces of over here, and I don't play hardcore into alignment or anything like that, but realistically, the hobgoblins are lawful evil, so they are more concerned about making sure the Legion stays standing, and they view losses like that as like they're not losses that they would prefer to have, right? But they're acceptable losses.
Inconsequential in the
cost of victory.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the cost of victory. It's not that they're inconsequential. It's not that they want their brethren dead or anything like that. It's just that the lives of the hobgoblins are worth more than the lives of the goblins and the bugbears.
It's like gold to silver.
Absolutely. It's hobgoblin to goblin.
Or Electrum, come on.
You know?
I don't know about y'all, but I'm pretty interested in assaulting this beast. I feel like that's where we should really focus our efforts.
We could always circle back.
What? I had literally nothing to offer that I want to kill the big beast.
So
it would be a
Rolvuk,
great conquest. Fuck off.
Rolvuk in response says there is some merit to the idea of drawing out some of their larger.
That's right. We kill the
resources.
Big boy. Maybe we get the mage. Maybe the mage comes to try and protect the big boy. Who knows?
The problem there is if they see that we side with the Legion, then we ruin the ability to say that we did what they wanted us to.
Let me walk you through a scenario, Ezra. This is how I'm imagining in my brain place.
Okay,
First,
let's hear it. I like ideas.
First, we kill the big boy. All right, maybe I get some bones from it. Who knows?
Okay.
After that, we retreat. Right?
Real quick, Bones.
We rest
I
up?
want to pick and nitpick your story, but like,
Okay,
how do we get to
okay,
the big boy without walking past all the drow?
We walk with a whole bunch of orcs.
But we have to walk
Fucking
past.
half orcs. I don't know what the fuck y'all are. Hobgoblins.
That is so fucked up.
Matt's just like,
Look, that's Zach. That's not Bones. Bones knows what race they are.
The creature isn't exposed. It is guarded by the drow flanks. We would have to go through a large contingent of, or at least what was expressed is a large contingent of the drow forces to even get to the creature.
If we used our own, Rolvuk pipes up. He says, if we used our own monster to assault the drow flanks, then perhaps they would unleash their beast in retaliation.
We
a
still
monster
risk
to
there.
fight a monster.
I
feel like we could get through that area.
Seeing us engage with the creature, though.
No, they see us. That's the point. That's the
We don't-
whole. Okay.
We don't want them to, because then how do we get in front of?
So I mean that's one side or the other, right? So I think Zach's going the concept
through
of,
my scenario.
Yeah.
Because I have a scenario.
There we go.
Wait.
So yeah, Bones is not going the stealth route. He's going the morale
which is ironic
route.
from a rogue.
Right.
But,
Okay.
Blood and thunder.
Blood and thunder.
Okay. Anyway, so we kill the big thing. Okay.
yeah,
It's a
so you can
great
get your prize.
conquest. Okay, no, it's a great conquest. Maybe we get a leader. Who knows if they come out to support that thing? It seems important. We might get the mage. That'd be great. Then we retreat, right?
Wait,
Maybe
just-
we don't retreat.
we just leave?
We just leave.
They're gonna
All right,
let
we
us.
heal. We rest up. We come back. Okay, we come back with the head in a sack. Yeah, we've had a change of heart. All right, now we're back to make amends. Now we're in the inner sanctum.
but-
Now we're hitting them hard.
But if we kill even a single drow and word gets back to us, we're dead. It don't matter. We've lost all.
Change of
Also,
heart.
quick question
Change of heart.
for the table. This creature in the rumors and the sightseeing, does it have a caretaker? Is one of these leaders truly its master, or what information?
So they'll chat about it. The information is mixed. It's not solid information, but they believe the basis that they believe is that the captain of the guard or the priestess is also the caretaker of the creature.
Look, maybe losing the big boy. Yeah, maybe they got to spread their forces a little thinner. There's less people in that room when we go to make amends with the head.
Now, I don't hate the idea of taking on this beast, but I hate your plan. There are
Blood and thunder.
There are way too many unknowns in this plan.
I don't like the idea of coming in crossbows blazing. That's not really my
I like the idea of drawing it out. If there's a way we can get it away from, the middle of the Drow territory, and we can fight it elsewhere, I could get behind that plan. I don't like the idea of charging in, killing this thing, running away, then coming back with a head in a second saying, "Oh, JK, we just want to be friends."
What is a
Look,
JK?
we had to do this to get Azraq's trust, so we
That's
can
an
get close
Everard
enough
term
to
for
him.
Just kidding.
Like we changed him. Gotcha.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
It was a test, bro.
There are too many variables. This creature is
You're too many variables.
that's probably true and accurate and almost like
Now you're just getting aggressive. We're just trying to come up with a good plan here.
But this creature, from everything we're hearing, is likely going to be in rank with Drow forces, and if any of them get out and report that we are here, all negotiation is lost.
And
You saw one of
Until we show up with the
individual-
head of their greatest enemy. Sorry,
Right.
the head of their greatest enemy, not the real head.
getting
obviously.
ripped in front of us, and she told the guard to kill us.
The Drow want to win. They don't care how they do it.
another concern I got
Bones,
is that
I feel a lot of your plan hinges on one thing: that you have an opportunity to salvage bones from this unknown creature. Is that correct?
I mean, it would be nice, but it's not the most important. Second most important.
I feel like
Maybe 1.5. 1.5 on the scale.
the spotlight just shines on bones.
I got a little bit of concern with, because it seems, and while I think the general consensus is we want to think this, that the Drow are idiots.
I don't think they're idiots. That's
Well,
why
your
we're,
plan kinda makes
we're
them
engaging
sound to
in
be.
subterfuge.
Your plan assumes that they're pretty dumb.
It does not.
Walk
They'd
through
have to
your
be
plan
pretty
again.
stupid for.
Please walk through your
Look,
plan.
actually, let me just tell you what it is. It plays on exactly what they're already doing. That they think we're dumb.
So
Just
they
look at
think
everyone,
we're
just like that.
dumb.
Just like that. Just.
Ognok at this point kind of like speaks up and he says, "Too much talk. Pointless. We gather all forces. Head to the eastern ruins. Kill all the Drow there. Anything that comes our way. Kill
This
them
man
all.
gets it.
Oznog. Is that what his name? Did I say that wrong?
Kill them all.
Ognok."
Mostly the
Ognok.
big thing.
Why haven't you done that before we came here?
He kind of like looks abashedly, and fucking Lurkana like crosses her arms, right? She says, "Because it's idiocy, and the Legion commander won't allow it."
Now, I'm not trying to dissuade any ideas here, but let's not downplay others if we've got nothing to bring to the table.
Oh, poor
Yeah,
Ognok.
Just displaying his bravery and tenacity.
Yeah.
If
All right.
there is a stealth passage up that river, I think us being able to surpass the drill forces, it is a ideal position, especially if significant forces show a show of strength to pull attention.
Okay, here's a question. Here's the question for our orc friends. What are they,
They're
hobgoblins?
not
What
orcs.
fucking race are these people? Whatever. Here's a question for our legion friends. Anytime you guys have ever attacked, has one of the leaders ever come out? Is that like a normal thing?
There have been engagements when the leaders are present, but they will say it's not like Teresa comes running every time a fight happens. The mage doesn't come running every time the fight happens.
But
So they will tell you, right, from what they know, that the captain of the guard seems to command most of the forces in the eastern ruins of Stromkolder, whereas Teresa tends to spend more of her time in the Dwarven Halls, right, in the temple complex. And that the mage has been seen wherever the fuck the mage wants to be. Basically.
What do we know about Teresa?
she likes to whip people.
Okay.
She
doesn't
is.
speak directly to people. Bitch.
Are you asking them, or are you asking the players?
I'm asking the council. Like, what do we know? We want
We
her
grant
out
you the
of where
council.
she
We
is.
do not
right?
grant you
What do we know?
the title of war chief.
So the council, through various different individuals, the council will say that they know Teresa is she the
Because from what we know she's sadistic, hates traitors.
Uh-oh.
Wow. Does she hate traitors? Cause
That
maybe
was the
she
guy she was
just-
whipping, right? Was it traitor?
Maybe she was just having a little fun. She thought he was handsome. Remember? You remember that?
What did he do?
That doesn't sound fun.
I think she just liked him.
she wanted his D, and that was why she beat him with the whip. Okay, got
Well,
it.
she got the D.
Remember if you double check this real quick. There's something specific that I'm looking for.
Because I think a lot of our plans are focusing around trying to get in to her where she is. If we can find a way, if we can find a way to draw her out of there, I feel like that's entirely in our interest.
What
So
if
the
there's something
It would be less
she or the
defended.
mage had to deal with?
Yeah.
Like, oh, I don't know, 3 sea hags assaulting their flank.
You real think they're going to be that interested in a frontal assault?
No, they're flanking. Thought we discussed this.
Idol.
so do you talk openly about the sea hags?
Yep.
Yeah.
There's
I would be happy to say that they sent us to you.
there's a
saying
little bit of mixed
allies.
feelings from the war council, right? Some of the members, Ognok and Azaner, seem kind of about the sea hags. Rolvuk doesn't seem like he gives a fuck. Azrock doesn't seem like he gives a fuck, and Lurkana seems she seems about everything, but she seems a little like, you know, not that she's against the idea of the sea hags helping, but that she's you know, like I don't know, she's taken an Ezrah stance. She's like, they're sea hags, there's a problem if they're helping you. Basically is how she kind of like approaches it. But
mean,
that being said, it's a resource, so they don't like Azrock as war leader, as Legion commander, does not does not dissuade the use of any resource necessarily,
My
especially if it's
response
not
to
his
that
own
is,
resource.
Do you want to win?
Yeah.
Matt, in regards to your point, drawing Teresa out, she will be heavily guarded if she leaves her temple. If we go to her place, their guard is, so to say, let down. We have less potentially to deal with than if she is dealing with a frontal assault or drawn out. She is likely going to have the best of the best there and ready, expecting confrontation.
Gonna ride in on our
Ezra,
dragon.
you've got a good memory. Do you recall what was in the room when we got there last time?
In the room,
A lot of bodies and a lot of webs.
What was the question?
There were not a lot of individuals.
I'm trying to recall what we saw last time we were in the room as far as defense.
2 giant spiders.
Because
a
when
whole
we
bunch
went
of
in,
elite
we were
guards.
unknowns.
We didn't see that many elite guards. It was like
Like
four,
5?
four maybe. Plus her herald and the individual getting whipped, and then some spiders.
5 elite
If
guards.
Jake recall correctly. No, she was
I'm
the one
fine,
doing the whipping.
honestly, with whatever. I vote Legion Assault to draw things. I like the flesh golem thing. That sounded cool.
Okay, gut
We
golem.
talk to sea hags.
Unleash
Sea
gut
hags.
golem.
Sea hags do some shit.
No
Maybe the sea hags.
No flesh golem.
Oh,
No flesh golem. There is
Hopefully,
no flesh
the sea
golem.
hags are so
Where did
strong.
that happen? Hold up. When did that become a thing?
There is
What?
there has been mention of a creature named Gut Golem a time or two during the War Council, right? As being like and they keep throwing it out as like a potential like
How did I miss
kaiju
that?
battle option.
Yeah, like it's
Right?
their monster.
Like
I like the gut golem. That sounds awesome. Maybe we get the hags. The hags do a little flanky flank.
that
The
they
hags are-
If
They're
you
also
guys-
not expend Legion resources here.
if you
we
guys
can.
pry about the Gut Golem or try to like steer towards that scenario, right? Ralvuk and the other 2 war leaders, right? They discuss the option. Ralvuk takes the stance of it being a dangerous option because Gut Golem is complacent where it is, but drawing it out to a new location might be its own complication.
Great.
The way I think, I'm not sure you guys have encountered this as a party yet, but the way they describe Gut Golem is a monstrous carrion feeder with 3 legs and 3 massive tentacles.
Fucking Otiug.
So, and basically like Ognok is all for the idea of like getting like spears and getting in there and like herding Gut Golem into the eastern ruins and letting it just like trample about and cause a ruckus while they fight. But Ralvuk thinks that it's likely that they would have as much damage dealt to them by Gut Golem as Gut Golem would do to the enemy, basically. So he seems opposed to the idea.
Yeah, that seems sketch AF.
But it is on the table as an option. Also, you guys had asked earlier, what does the Legion know about Teresa, right? And I was looking some stuff up while you guys were still talking about stuff. They will tell you, again, that they don't know a whole lot of information, but they do know that Teresa is one of the eldest scions of House Ovrendar, which is a...
Scion. Doesn't sound
So
promising.
this is all information that the Legion has, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
And that she is leading the forces of House Ovrendar here on this campaign. But other than that, right? Like they okay. So there's one other thing that they know. They know the things you do. They know she's kind of sadistic. They know she's a drow priestess, right? She's kind of vengeful and a little wild. but they also know that she has been scavenging. She's been capturing more than killing whenever possible. Like her people have orders to capture instead of kill whenever possible, and that
Why?
they believe she is taking a great number of prisoners for some sort of secret experiment, but they don't know what.
If she's got a lot of prisoners, that might be the distraction we need.
Let's start a riot.
A riot.
So
hold
they
on.
can tell you
immediately upon hearing that. Matt kind of jumps on it, like just like I did
Sure.
there. Hold up. What do you know about these
Hold on.
prisoners? Where's she keeping those?
they don't know anything about the prisoners themselves because they don't know who has been captured necessarily and who's still alive, etc. But they do know that, and this is another map thing. So if you'll take a look at your map, just to the southeast of the temple complex is a set of basically like prison cells. There's a prison holding location there.
So if we, oh God, I wish I could draw on the map. But if we rode up the river,
yeah,
up to, so there's 3 pluses on the upper river.
Yep.
If we rode up to third plus,
the
very top of the river.
the very top of the river, the Legion, you'll be able to see on the Legion map, that just keeps going. That's just river. It just keeps going. But the
There's
one
no
before
exits
that,
off into the...
yeah, it just goes off the map.
Okay.
Right? But the one before that, the one just north of the little NPC token for where you left the ferryman,
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
one winds up and eventually heads back into the temple complex.
And that goes towards
That goes
prison
through
area.
this prison area, but the prison area is right up next to the temple complex.
Okay.
Is it the plus arrow right before the main chamber, or is it the one kind of up to the right of it?
No, it's the first one that you were talking about.
Okay, so
It's
it's
just to the south of that. And the lead, like the war council, they'll say like, surely this passageway is guarded in some way, shape, form, or fashion, right? The drow are not pushovers. Surely there is some sort of guard, but Ralvuk is especially, like, he seems to feel like it is likely that there's less of a guard on that side compared to the western locations, right?
I mean, that's
Sure.
that's how they saw us. That's where people from floor 2 are coming down. Like,
No, he means the river. He means the river entry going up that way. Yeah.
I want to help the people that are in that prison, but I'm
Well-
afraid to call it out as a military resource when we don't know what's there.
And that might be something that we need to investigate after we deal with the issue at hand. I agree, if there are individuals that are being kept as prisoners, there will need to be attention to it. I would inquire of the War Council. The intent is to draw attention if we intend a subterfuge of sorts. What sort of time would we expect for you to be in combat enough, or at least to have drawn attention for us to be in the clear? That does feel like something that we need to plan for.
Are you looking for a schedule there, Ezra?
I mean, time-wise, what we should expect from when they move out to when we would feel comfortable pushing without reinforcements coming our way, as well as...
Yeah, that's one of those things of like,
But I think the plan is same time generally.
But then that might be a split of forces. We would see much more... The
So
intent
that's-
is for them to draw a bulk of the...
so the War Council, I mean, they'll openly discuss this. This is a matter of like, absolutely, this is a matter of timing. You guys are gonna have to figure out what do you think the proper timing is, right?
I am asking them, with their knowledge of this floor,
And they are
what is
telling. So they are
reasonable-
telling you. So if you guys, again, they're deferring to you guys for the basis of the plan, right? Because you guys are the hammer, right?
If you guys are like dead set on this whole drawing forces thing, I don't see why we couldn't like show up and then I don't know, 5 minutes later a big ass force shows up as if they're chasing us because we just cut off their leader's head. Like I just don't like that makes sense to me.
I don't think we're disagreeing. I think that's exactly what Ezra's
Also, hey,
trying
I've got some
to hide.
sending stones that we could use to coordinate. I'm just gonna say that.
My concern.
I've had these for like
It
I don't
came
know,
back!
6 months.
The sending subs.
I really
My
thought they were never going to.
concern is that if we fight alongside the hobgoblins at any point, we're going to be traitors. If anyone,
Oh, I have a great solution to this. Disguises. And I look at you just like that.
you're a cat.
I'm not gonna lie, like generally Matt is for any idea, but like he's a little bit just like
Look, bro, we disguise ourselves.
I just look
the
dumbfounded.
whole
at
plan is
that
built upon us returning with his head.
Yeah, I don't know why we're fighting anyway, but this is I was just answering Ezra's concern.
No, no.
I thought we were walking in the middle of everything and killing him later. Head of the snake. Although,
But-
you know,
She is not going to be there.
Can someone cast some like Owl's Wisdom on Bones for me? It's like,
I don't know if that would help.
do we got some hobgoblin druids up in this bitch?
some shaman.
Shame.
Odie boy.
Oh,
Can I say
okay.
They bring out Odie, and Odie goes,
Yeah. Hold on. Can we just send Odie in?
You'll play some D&D.
yeah,
He'll-
Odie's the gut
He'll,
golem.
he'll
Odie has got golem.
The Odie
He's got a
golem.
gut. Don't you bite me.
he'll pass that.
He says, "Why the fuck do you touch my belly then? You don't want to be bit."
There seems like, in my mind, there seems like two possible options here. There is the complete show of force where we make our presence as allies and storm the gates, so to speak. Or there is the hobgoblins draw their rival to the center of town and battle royale, while we sneak around and go, yeah, they're upset because oh wait, you're dead.
Yeah, whatever. That sounds good to me. Let's do that.
Zach has officially reached he doesn't care anymore stage. He just wants to stab some things.
After out solutions, I'm fine with literally
Hey,
anything.
absolutely.
Matt at this point says, I want the option that means the least loss of life on both sides.
Oh, that's not gonna give us-
Lurkana
Everybody
at that
leaves
point.
Teresa and kills her.
Lurkana at that point
That's what I want.
speaks up and she says, "If we want loss of life, we should speak to the Creeper."
What? Hold up. What's the creeper?
It's the thing that's that we saw in the pile of carry-on.
You say that out loud, Ezra?
Yeah.
Rolvuk shakes his head and says, "No, that's Gut Golem."
Okay, please enlighten me.
Gut Golem's an Otiog?
Gut Golem's an Otiug, yeah. And then you
can't
can
remember
see
fucking
like
Hobgoblin, but
Ognok
goddamn,
and
I don't know
Ozener
fucking
look like their
Otiug.
skin is crawling as we're having this conversation, right? And Rolvuk seems a little hesitant, and Azrock just kind of like he nods. And he kind of leans towards Lurkana and he whispers something. She whispers back to him.
This is the defeated thing.
Honestly, at
That's a
this
different
point,
thing too.
Matt's gonna take his spear and kind of slam it on the ground and say, "This isn't the time for secret. We're allies. What is this creeper?"
You hear leather kind of like clench as Azrok's fist comes up, and he kind of like squeezes his hand, and he says, "Do not mistake me. We are allies, and we are working together. But you do not speak to the lead commander thusly."
Yeah, you fucking country bumpkin.
What my mate and I speak of in private is our own. We keep no secrets from you. But we have words that are only for each other.
They were just talking about what they're gonna have for dinner. Shit.
Preta Creepa is a creature of magic that has lived within the realm of the Legion quite some time. She does not bother us. We do not bother her. However, she has many useful talents when she properly moves. You speak of wanting to prevent death. The Creeper deals in it. If she assists us, then death will be on our side.
At what cost?
Fucking metal.
Cost of what we already have. Corpses.
So my options
No,
are
that kind of sounds like an ace in the hole.
Say what? Sorry.
So I don't know. She kind of sounds like an ace in a hole. Ace in the hole.
I was talking to Mitch. Sorry. I heard you.
So my options are death or death.
That's war, baby.
Your options are death for those who live, or the undeath.
The undeath.
Oh, is she a necromancer?
Nah, she's a dickromancer.
Lurkana kind of sighs and she says,
Quick
There
research
is always the Xanathar. We could make concessions, and you hear that kind of like leather, like tense pulling, right? The kind of like creaking as Azrok clenches his other fist.
Matt's gonna be pretty against undeath, so he's gonna lean away from the creeper. I understand you got a decent relationship with this creature. If it deals in undeath, I'm not interested.
There's some Azrok and Lurkana are, they understand because they've dealt with more people. But the between the three war leaders, there's a general sense of like not understanding, because from them it's just a practical option, right? to let what is already dead do the dying, compared to the living, right?
I mean, that's sound.
Any other character, I'd probably be cool with it, but
But Azrok and Lurkana aren't like twisting your arms or anything like that. They say, if you wish her aid, may meet her. Not, don't.
I personally would also interject that Giving an inch to the Xanathar would not be something I would find savory.
Here we go. About the Xanathar. That's what Bone says. Here we go.
Azrock at this
Aura.
point, right?
It's
Kind of like
an
he
aura
you can
because of-
hear him kind of grinding his teeth, and he says, "Fine, then kill the drow all yourselves. I don't care how it's done at this point. But if you seem to want to refuse the resources we have, then perhaps you are just that strong."
Anyone watching Matt kind of sees him struggling for a moment, like clearly wanting to say something and not sure what to say. But after a moment, he says, "This Creepa, is it possible to meet with her and see what she can do without agreeing to anything?"
Yes. And yes and no. You can meet with her, easily enough. Not far from here, within the hold itself. A simple matter. But whether or not that meeting causes anything is entirely up to the Creepa herself. She is a strange creature. Her motives are her own. If your meeting with her causes her decide one thing or the other, well, then that is out of our hands.
Matt turns back to the group, and you see legitimate conflict in his eyes. Is the use of undeath worth the option of saving life?
No, probably.
Well,
I mean-
based on the cursory studies I've done in Undeath, it's just a husk. There's no soul. It's an animated object. There's
I love that Ezra takes the scholarly approach. I love it.
there is that. It is
Right.
just
Doesn't it degrade the body of the person who was there?
if the culture does not deign it as offensive, then does that matter? That they are offering it as an option, which leads me to
Scholar, how many
man.
religions are okay with it?
what does that have to do with religion? That
If their culture allows it.
there are lots of cultures that don't deign. Once the soul has left the body is nothing but object.
I think what Ezra's trying to say is, when it comes to using dead bodies, that's free real estate.
It depends on how you use the body's
I think
ashes.
your boy.
The magic to raise a body is questionable, of course. That there are ethical arguments all through time about what that means and what that's intended. But really, is a sword a threat if it's sheathed its entire birth versus one that has touched blood thousands of times over? The sword itself is not evil. The wielder,
No,
on the other
but
hand,
it is a threat. It's a show of force in a way.
I mean, so is an army of hobgoblins. I just,
Half orcs. I
Look,
think you mean
I'm
half
not
orcs.
disagreeing, but to the term
Stop!
of it's a sort of threat, it is.
Lorcana speaks and she says, "Perhaps you should meet the Creeper. And in doing so, your decision will be swayed.
The
Or
creeper.
Do the
one
creep.
way or the other."
I think that'd be good for me.
there we go.
I don't like the idea of making the decision before I've heard all the facts.
Azrock says, "There's much for us to consider. There have been many ideas discussed today. And you all are still injured from your previous conflict.
Only barely.
You will
I
meet
could
with
use
the Creeper,
HP.
and then quarters will be provided for your rest and recuperation. On the morrow, after you have had time to consider your options, we will discuss things further, come up with a final plan. We will do what must be done."
Can we take a little bit of a respite before we meet this creature?
You are in no danger from the Creeper. It is best that you deal with your business now, and then rest later.
You say so. She looks at me the wrong way and I might croak.
Matt bows low. Thank you.
Azark says, kind of like turns his head slightly towards you all, right? And his face is shadowed, eyes. It's been quite some time since I have been in the presence of individuals I believe be of worth. I hope that I remain glad to have been in your presence. And he kind of turns and you see him again, right? All of you see this time, not just Bones. You see him kind of like sway slightly. And again, we have that scenario where like all three of the war leaders, right? Their eyes dart at each other and then their eyes dart down as if looking away from the situation. And Azrok's hand actually like shoots out and grabs Lorcana's shoulder. But it kind of slips, right? And it kind of goes off her shoulder and her hand comes up and catches his arm and steadies him, right? And then he kind of like straightens his back and he steps forward back up onto the dais and seats himself upon his throne. And Lorcana turns and says, "Rolvuk, escort them to the Creeper's domain. and have a guard take them to their quarters. She looks at all of you and she says, weigh your options carefully. The Legion's resources are at your
Yo, karimashita.
and then they kind of like they kind of dismiss you, right? Like Ognok and Ozanur step out of the way. Rolvuk heads to the door.
Like before we leave, I'm not good at this, but I kind of want to know if I can pick anything up. Just
do it.
His symptom, like the way he's acting, does anything jump out to me? What might be wrong with him?
Roll an insight.
Okay.
Meets it, beats it. At first, you have absolutely no idea, right? You take a second, you glance at him, and you're like, ill, sick, some injury. And then it clicks.
I feel like some of Matt's like weird insight stuff is like Valena kind of flits over and is kind of like hovering around someone, looking around at them in different ways.
And like only Matashtai can kind of like see the spirit like doing these things, right? Like you begin to like you see you get flashes, right? Like flashbacks of like the way he looked here, the way he reacted there, the reaction to the child calls out to you, and it clicks in your mind. Ezrah, the Legion commander, is blind.
Jake. Yep.
And I think
you're gonna enjoy
the chat. I think that's where we'll go ahead and end our session for tonight, actually. As Matashtai makes that realization, right? It kind of like clicks in your mind. All the little, the shadowy helmet covering his eyes, right? The little glances here or there, the furtive whispering with Lurkana, right? The reacting to things as he hears them for the first time, rather than as he would have seen them for the first time.
Details that he can't pick up on.
It all kind of clicks for you, Matashtai, and you realize the Legion commander is blind. So, boys, we will pick back up next week, and you guys are going to be going to see the Creepa, and maybe starting a war. I say war, but there's like less than 100 combatants in the whole thing, but same difference. A war for them, right? So, I had fun. I hope you guys enjoyed. And with that, we'll see you all next time. Bye, everybody.
Hey guys.
Bye.